Welcome back everyone. In this video we are tattooing Wayne and we are working on his sleeve. So in today's session we're going to be doing a rose at the bottom. So previously we've done a few other bits. So we've done some lettering, his wife's name. We've also done a swallow on the inside and then some roses in some gaps in an existing tribal tattoo he's had done many years ago. So as you can see here, we've got the stencil. What I'm doing is I'm trimming around as close as I can get to the edge. We don't want excess on the stencil, as it does make it tricky to get nice and flat on the body. We got pretty lucky here with this rose. Well, I say lucky, I am a professional, but it works out pretty well. The bud fit perfectly wrapping around the existing lettering. At the moment here I'm just talking through what we're going to do for the rest. We're going to have maybe a smaller bud pop out from behind the lettering higher up. We're going to have a smaller swallow on the inside, and the gap towards the top we're going to add some more leaves and another bud. Before we get started, I obviously need coffee. I'm a fiend. I'm powered by it every day.
Music license.
So here we are, just putting the stencil on. So shave the area, just getting off any excess bits of hair. Quick spray with some isopropyl alcohol. Get any oils off the skin and make sure it's clean. If you don't do this step, your stencil just doesn't stay on. So quick check, make sure the placement's right. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Sharpie and I'm going to put a few lines at one edge of the stencil so I know where to put it once I put my stencil solution on. Here we go. Bit of stencil solution. This is way too much. Make sure it's evenly spread around before we chuck the stencil on. And taking care to line up the marks we made earlier. Press down the center of the stencil and then one side at a time, pushing down evenly as you wrap around, making sure it all gets stuck down. There we go. I've been experimenting actually with my stencils in Procreate. I've been using a stipple line to differentiate. So far so good. I'm enjoying it doing it this way. I use a drop system here, you'll see, with my inks. Everybody is very individual, and I do experiment with this drop system quite a bit. And some clients, I do go for more of a higher contrast. Wayne here is a prime example because he works outside, so his arms take a bit of battering from the sun. Like all tattoos, we tend to try and start from the bottom right, so we're not wiping our stencil off as we go. The way I tattoo, I tend to use a sort of very limited number of needles. A lot of my work, I just use either a single needle or a really tight 3-round liner. But for Wayne, because we're sort of going for a slightly different look, I am using mags. But this rose, I'll mainly be using a 7 mag, a straight mag, which is 10 gauge one, so it's like a bug pin. And at the moment, I'm using this Uncle Roy rotary, which is one of his new machines designed primarily for cartridges. I've been using like all these pen style machines for a number of years, and honestly I'm trying to transition back to using handmade machines, rotaries with grips, and even going back to like traditional needle bars, and eventually go back to using my steel grips once I've got myself an autoclave. So that's the plan. I kind of feel like a lot of the craft has been lost with the use of pens. I mean, obviously it's convenience, but there's some great machine builders out there, and why not support them? It supports the craft, the industry, for the real makers and craftsmen in it, not for corporations. So here we are again, just chipping away, really. Should be able to see here, get a bit of an idea of my technique. There's a lot of this pendulum motion, but I'd like to do a bit of everything. Sometimes I'll do like a circular motion given the right area, but predominantly here I'm using my 7 straight mag, because it's all quite pretty tight. But then I'll do a little bit of the background with a 17 curve mag, and that's a bug pin again, so 10 gauge. Well, I appreciate you if you've made it this far in the video. We're just finishing off here. and we are adding some white just for an extra little bump in a few areas. I try not to go crazy with white, less is more, I think. Wayne, my client here, his skin does get pretty red, so and you know, the fresh tattoo can look pretty dark, but that's just really well saturated toned. As I said earlier, he works outdoors, so it's really important to make sure you've got plenty of contrast and like really sort of saturated those tones. But yeah, last few bits of white here, and then we'll get to the final finished shot. Alright folks, well you've made it. Here we are, the last few little bits of white, just to finish it off and make it nice and crispy. But yeah, if you've made it this far, I really appreciate you watching. Please do consider liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing, all that stuff. And here's the final finished shot. Peace.